do you think that the current governor, given those two statements in a 2-week period, or less than a 2-week period, preceding the week where the RBA is going to make the decision in December, do you think she might be conditioning the market? We'll go through our analysis later, but do you think she could be conditioning the market? Do you think they've finally got a PR guru in there or somebody who's good at dealing with media, and they're saying, that person is saying to the RBA governor, do you think we need another rate rise? If you do, we need to start to drop this stuff into the media, because it looks like it's been dropped into the media for me, and the media's running with it.
A couple of things there. First of all, I think you're right that the RBA have appointed a new media advisor. Sally Cray's her name. Yeah, she's been public. She's been there for a couple of months. Used to be the senior media person for Malcolm Turnbull when he was Prime Minister. So she's great. But, so she's good at PR. She knows her PR stuff, let's say.
Well, she knows how to work
the PR stuff. Correct. Now, what I think the Reserve Bank are doing, because when I look at the US, this is similar conversations we had last month. The US, Europe, New Zealand, Canada, they've all got interest rate cuts, quite aggressive in some instances, priced into 2024. Australia doesn't.
And the narrative is the same too. By the way,
it is. The economy's slowing down, inflation's coming down. The narrative is remarkably similar. Now, I reckon it might just be the RBA, one of two things. Well, goodness me, they may hike rates. I was surprised last month when
we both were.
With the rate hike, yep. Or it could just be Australians don't get carried away about the prospect of a near-term cut. So if you hear the conversation, US is going to cut rates in May and UK is going to cut rates in April and New Zealand's going to cut rates in April or May, whatever, don't think it's automatically going to follow here, because we want to keep rates a little bit higher for a little bit longer. And sure, we might cut them in the second half of 2024, but don't start re-pumping up, if you like, the economy on the expectation that we're going to cut rates in the next few months, because that ain't going to happen. But you and I know that anyway.
But maybe if that's right, then why would she go out and say that we're doing okay? Because saying we're doing okay makes me think we should go to put the rates up.
Yeah, look, that I can't work out. And it's funny that it was in the weeks after they put out their statement on monetary policy, because as you know, every quarter when they put out their statement on monetary policy, they have all of their updated forecasts. Fair enough, and it's a great chance for us economists to have a look at, what's their forecast for GDP, inflation, unemployment, wages, all the stuff that feeds into interest rates and, the health of the economy. In that statement, what they did, they revised up from a really low point the GDP growth, like from in the middle of, I can't remember the exact number, middle of 2024, it went from 1.5 to 1.8. The economy's still weak. Australian economy, we've discussed, needs a 3 for GDP growth, and particularly given our population at the moment. Anything under 3, we're weak. So, okay, it's a bit like sort of saying, you revised up your forecast by 0.5% or 1/3%.
Do you think that's because she's expecting much bigger population growth?
Oh, I think it is, yes, indeed. In fact, the RBA has done a lot of work on how they've been surprised by how strong immigration's been. There's a lovely chart in their statement, might have been one before last, I think, showed how population growth far exceeded what they thought. And of course, with every new migrant into the economy, they eat, they spend money, they need to rent a house, they need to buy a house, So the economy grows more, but in per capita terms, it doesn't grow more. So that's why people are hurting. While, the top line GDP might be a little bit better.
Politically good.
Simply because there's more people, and politically good, the individual experience is still under a lot of pressure, because GDP per capita is going backwards. And the only thing that's keeping GDP growing is
as a gross number.
As an aggregate gross total number is population.
Yeah, and it's funny, I was thinking about this morning, I was having a cup of coffee and I thought, on average, we're growing at about 1,000 new people a day.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yes.
And now I don't want anybody out there to think that you and I, because I have already been asked about this by a certain academic. Mark, I was told that you and your friend Stephen have been bagging immigration. My response was, neither Stephen nor I, we're the least well-placed people to bag immigration, given that we both come from immigrant parents, and we're very pro-immigration. I get it. I get it. But what we're trying to do is explain. We're not saying don't have immigrants. We're trying to say, if you are looking at data, please look at the effect of immigration. That doesn't mean get rid of immigration. It just means look at the effect of the data, look at the effect of immigration on a per capita basis. Otherwise, you're trying to pull the wool over everybody's eyes.
Correct. Well, imagine if we had, I don't know, 2 million people here coming to Australia. We couldn't cope. So the argument that we're getting 400,000 or 500,000 a year is also in that genre where it's just difficult to absorb that number of people. Yeah, no, I'm pro-immigration, very, very much so, but there's an optimal number. There is the right amount of immigration. Zero. No, I don't want zero immigration. We're a good country. We're a rich country and we're a decent country, so you need a bit of humanitarian immigration and you need the stuff that makes the Australian economy good. But you can have too much. You can have too much immigration because if all of a sudden you get this surge, which is what we've happened, including with foreign students studying at our universities. Again, another good thing, but they've all come in. They tend to rent. Where are the universities? They tend to be in the big cities, in the CBD areas, and they rent apartments. The vacancy rates are almost non-existent. Now, the question about immigration is not that we go to zero. Nobody wants that. But 500,000 is too much. Okay, we're going to drop to 265,000, I think it is.
What is the long range general immigration? Because I seem to recall population growth is about 280,000. Half of which is
some of it's
organic.
Natural. Yeah. We have more babies than people are dying.
Yeah.
Great, good. We're a young, fertile country, whatever. But the immigration numbers tend to be between 175 and 250,000 people.
That's my recollection.
And there is a fluctuation. It depends on circumstances too, right? And of course, okay, after the pandemic, we opened the borders and it was always going to be a high number. That's fine.
Playing catch up.
Yeah, playing catch up. But we've now got this position where we're playing catch up without building the infrastructure, including housing, to accommodate the surge in demand. Look, one day Australia's going to have 40 million people. We're currently 26 million. One day, I don't know when, probably 30 years' time, whatever. But if we were to get to 40 million tomorrow, we would have an almighty headache. So perhaps you can sort of emphasise how immigration can be too strong by thinking, well, what if 10 million people came in here tomorrow? What on earth would we do? We couldn't cope. So that's why there's an optimal number. And I think what the debate right now, and it's getting a lot of attention, a lot of coverage, including from the RBA, is that immigration is a bit too hot right now. It's providing, that might be where the stimulus to the economy is because all these people are coming in. They're coming in with a wallet full of cash. They're spending it, particularly on housing. Rents are as tight as can be. Rents are growing at 10% per annum still or more. And the house price market, while it might be cooling off a bit, is still bloody strong.
So if we, and you and the context of what you were just talking about is that when you looked at her most recent report or minutes, they were talking about GDP growing quite a lot in 2024.
Yep.
Probably more than likely, I don't know where it's coming from, it can only be coming off the back of expected high immigration, which has been a driver of GDP to date.
It is,
and
yes.
if we look at GDP as a per capita basis, we actually have
we've got
negative GDP.
Yeah, correct.
So we actually are in a technical recession relative to GDP on a per capita basis.